Here, again, you want to incentivize to drive these other guys out of the hand if they're going to call. But I will say,
guy, he's like quite solid. He's definitely capable of bluffs. Like he's already shown down. We've got like a little bit of a history as well, but he's already shown a couple of big bluffs with like missed combo draws and stuff in this session. Anyway, he is under the gun or +2. I can't quite remember, and he limps, which is weird. And kind of raises some alarm bells straight away. Folds to me. I'm on the button with Ace King of Diamonds, and I raised to 20. Which is pretty standard. Standard opens 15 to 20. Both the blinds call, and then he limp 3-bets to 75.
So LIMP Re-raise.
Yeah, so a bit funky. He does funky stuff like quite a lot, which we'll see later in the hand as well.
And the straddle's up front, right? So it's 3 blinds, 1, 2, 4.
Exactly.
He limps from like, we'll call it under the gun. You make it 20 with Ace King of Diamonds. The blinds call. He LIMP Re-raises to 75. Now, what's interesting here is that if you look some new school pre-flop sort of theoretical stuff, that Ace King suited is almost always put in the extra bet as a balance with aces. And then sometimes kings are actually even called. Here, again, you'd want to incentivize to drive these other guys out of the hand if they're going to call. But I will say that usually LIMP Re-raises are pretty strong. So I don't know the last time I've seen in some. It's funny because you could really balance it with a bluff, like if you limped in with like Ace 4 and LIMP Re-raise. But I don't know the last time I saw somebody LIMP Re-raise with a weak hand and then fold to a 4-bet. And what ends up happening is that if you 4-bet here, the guy jams on you. And I mean, at this stack depth, I guess you could fold, but what would be the point? That would be like turning Ace King suited sort of into a bluff, unless you wanted to consider it like a raise fold. But I mean, those are the things that are going through my head against a kind of a LIMP Re-raise.
Yeah, I was the same. I didn't really see. I mean, typically I would 4-bet Ace King suited pretty much always, apart from against kind of super nits. But I just didn't see the point here. Like you say, we're like 300 big blinds effective. Didn't want to get 5-bet on. And he's obviously representing a pretty strong range, even though I've got a strong hand. So I called. And then both the blinds folded, which I kind of expected, which was another reason that I didn't want a 5-bet, because I didn't think they would be calling.
So the pot's like 200 or so, something like that?
Yeah, pot's 190.
Okay.
And then the flop comes Ace 8-4, 2 spades, Ace of spades, 8 of clubs, 4 of spades.
Okay.
He checks.
Okay.
Which, yep.
I mean, that's good. I mean, that's good for you if he has kings or queens. I mean,
yeah,
it's more likely that he's going to have kings, queens than he is going to have pocket aces, right? With you holding ace king. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I would probably start a bet.
Yeah, a bit small. I mean, if he's got jacks, queens, or kings, then I want to get called, obviously. So I bet small 50.
Okay.
And yeah, he calls.
UTG calls. Now, it's interesting, though. What I would say here is that your inclination to bet small, I don't know if I would take that. It's hard to run this in a sim, right? Because it's a LIMP Re-raise. But here's my thoughts on why I would actually bet larger. If he has jacks, queens, or kings, okay, then the value, the really the early street value is where you're going to get your value. Like, it's going to be hard for you to get 3 streets with the hand. And if he's got jacks, queens, or kings and he checks you and you bet like 150, he's not folding, I don't think, right? So then you sort of geometrically sort of inflate the pot up now where it's easiest to get the most money in right now, as opposed to betting 50. Now, to play devil's advocate with myself, you could say, well, what are you bluffing with betting, 130 to 150? But that's sort of kind of my take. I mean, this is kind of a nut hand here against, that type of range. But okay, so you bet 50 and under the gun calls, right?
Yeah, no, I take your point on that. That makes sense. Betting larger there.
Yeah.
So he calls, pot's 290, and the turn is the 4 of diamonds.
Okay, that's a good card for you.
Yeah, it's a good card. So he leads though. He leads for $5.
So he min bets.
Yep.
So
Like I said,
what's
he's a
your response usually to like this type of, because I have my own thinking here.
yeah. Normally I'll just treat it as a check.
Hmm.
Like, I
That's what
think
I do too.
the whole point in someone min betting is to try and confuse you. So I think if you just ignore it, basically,
Yeah, I
treat
mean,
it as a
I would
check.
treat it as a check. I mean, it's literally. I mean, the only thing that it changes, and $5 doesn't really change anything, is just pot size. You know, like if somebody bets
Yeah.
1/10 the size of the pot later on down the line into like a $2,000 pot, I just sort of add it to the pot, but I sort of treat it, as a check. So if the guy had checked, what would you have done on a 4 turn?
Yeah, keep betting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I did. So I just bet, or I raised
Hmm.
to 135,
So you would have
which
bet.
is roughly half pot.
So you would have bet like 130 or something like that. By the way, do you see how if you start a bet like at 130 and he calls, now the pot's like 450, and then
Yeah.
even if you wanted to go like 200, you can see it just adds more. Like you're actually betting a larger amount as a smaller percentage of the pot. You
Mm.
could even go 130 on flop and then 1/3 on turn, and then put him in a weird spot at the end. So that's why I like that bigger bet sizing. But okay, so you make it 135, which just under half.
Yeah, so I make it 135,
Uh huh.
and then he three bets to 440.
That's
So now
odd.
I'm like, yeah, it's such a weird line. I have seen him min bet a couple of times before, um, kind of in this spot. I've seen him lead on the flop before min bet, and he had, I think, middle set or top set.
Yeah.
And then I've seen him do it another time, but I didn't see a showdown hand. So he does it. I don't know if he's balancing it or not, because I didn't see the other hands.
But what
But
do you lose
yeah,
to though?
well, the value range that he has is so narrow. I think so. He's literally just representing aces, which obviously I block.
It
Um,
just seems really strange to take this line with the one combo. I mean, so there's one combo of pocket aces, and he's
yeah,
gonna check call lead for five. I mean, I guess to induce a minute. I mean, there's no point in basically ever raising back. I mean, you just play this across as a call, and
yeah,
then the pot's gonna be like 1170, I think, according to my math, and it looks like you guys will have what, like 600 or 700 left, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I would just call this all day. I mean, I guess he could have pocket eights. I mean, is he supposed to have a four here? Is he supposed to have a four here when when he limp re-raises? No, you can also look at the distribution of the suits too. What are there possible ace four suited combinations here? I guess there could be ace four of clubs and ace four of hearts if we have it up as ace of spades, eight of clubs, four of spades, four of diamonds. But sometimes there's only one combo. Again, those are all just full houses, and they just seem odd. Check call, top and bottom, lead min on the turn, bet three bet. It's just very strange. I would definitely call.
Yeah, so I called. I mean, there's
Uh
no
huh.
way I can fold.
Uh huh.
Um, but yeah, I'm just confused.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, then I call. So pots, yeah, just under 1200.
Uh huh.
With about 700 behind. River's a queen of clubs.
Okay.
And yeah, he jams.
For 700.
Yeah. So again, I mean, nothing really changes on the queen. I don't think he's doing any of this with ace queen.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I would find it hard. Like, so there's a difference between like a live poker situation and then maybe looking at this like in theory, right? I
Yeah.
mean, even though you
I mean,
can't really sim this, right? I mean, this is absurd. But
I think theory is just easy call.
yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's an easy call in theory. When I bring this back to live, though, it's just I don't know if I've seen somebody run a bluff like this. So even if he only has like eights and he's got one combo of pocket aces, does he just always have it here?
Yeah, and
Does the queen
that was
change anything here? I mean, the only thing the queen changes is if you were to pull this shit with ace queen somehow, which would be very odd. Or on the which you lose to, right? You lose to ace queen, and then or some weird ass thing where he thinks he's somewhat protected by the board, where he had a ace X and then was like, oh, the board's but I mean, all that stuff is not going to be relevant with the 3-bet here on the turn. You know, what if the river was a queen and he checked? What would you have done?
Um, I think I would have just bet small again. I mean, like I say, if the queen doesn't, I just see the queen as a complete blank. So if I had the best hand on the turn, then I think it's still definitely best have the best hand on the river with the queen.
Yeah, I mean, I would. It would be very hard pressed for me not to bet the river here.
Yeah. So I'd probably bet a
Yeah,
third or
yeah. I
maybe
mean,
just higher
obviously,
than that.
maybe like some other card, like a 9 or something like that. But I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, when I see some, I mean, this might be a player type thing where you know the player better. I mean, if it was total unknowns, I would call. I just can't make that much of a deviation. It's just
Yeah.
very, very strange. What ended up happening?
Yeah. So yeah, I had the same thoughts as you. There's basically there's like one or two value combos, but then I just couldn't think of a single bluff basically. And I wasn't sure whether I was supposed to fold in that situation. I called,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he had aces.
Wow.
So yeah, I just the main question I guess was what are you supposed to do if you just can't find any bluffs, but there's only really one value combo.
Yeah, but
Um,
this is an extreme outlier though type of situation where it's just
yeah,
like it can't be that big of a mistake here to call, you know, unless you really have some history in a given situation. I mean, I know some people could make the argument, yeah, but there's just no bluffs. But you know, again, we can think about these hands because they're tough spots, but these sort of neutralish EV hands are not really the ones that are gonna, you know, increase your cut where you're gonna cut your teeth to be a big winner in live poker. It's really
mm,
the hands where you're getting maximum value. You know what I mean? Sizing correctly, things like that. So, you know, I wouldn't be too hard on myself. I would just take away, hey, I want to bet not that you're going to be in this position again against a limp re-raise. I would just bet larger on the flop to allow me to bet, you know, larger later on. I think that's more important to take away in this particular situation, more so than saying, oh, it's a bad call at the end. So I appreciate the